There's a man on Apple TV right now who has a great job, a beautiful house, a Maserati, and a social circle full of successful, wealthy people. And he's robbing all of them blind, not because he's broke, not because he's evil, not because he watched one too many heist movies on a Tuesday night. He's robbing them because, and this is the part that's going to sound completely insane, he needs their stuff to remember who he is. A French philosopher named Jean Baudrillard explained exactly why in 1970. And once you understand what he was saying, you will never look at your own closet the same way again. Your Friends and Neighbors is one of the most quietly devastating shows on TV right now. On the surface, it looks like a crime dramedy. John Hamm plays Andrew Cooper. Coop, a hedge fund manager who loses his job, his marriage, and his sense of self in about the time it takes to finish a mediocre charcuterie board at a country club. And instead of, say, updating his LinkedIn or learning to make sourdough like a normal person going through a crisis, Coop starts breaking into his neighbors' houses and stealing their things. Not their cash, their things, a rare watch, a Roy Lichtenstein painting, a bottle of wine worth more than most people's cars. And here's what makes the show genuinely brilliant. Coop doesn't feel like a criminal when he does this. He feels alive. He feels like himself again, which makes absolutely no sense unless you've read Baudrillard. Jean Baudrillard was a French philosopher born in 1929 who spent most of his career saying things that made people deeply uncomfortable at dinner parties. His big idea, the one that made him either a genius or the most insufferable person at any given academic conference, was this: in modern consumer society, objects don't just have value, they have meaning. They tell you and everyone around you who you are. Your car isn't transportation. It's a statement about your taste, your success, your place in the social hierarchy. Your watch isn't a timekeeping device. It's a declaration. I have arrived. I belong here. I matter. Your kitchen appliances aren't for cooking. They're for showing people who visit your kitchen that you are the kind of person who could cook, even if the most ambitious thing you've ever made in there is a very confident bowl of cereal. Baudrillard called this the consumer society, a world where we don't buy things because we need them. We buy things because they construct our identity. We are, quite literally, what we own. And then he said something even more disturbing. He said that in this world, losing your possessions isn't just financial. It's existential. You don't just lose stuff, you lose yourself. Now hold that thought and think about what actually happens to Coop at the start of Your Friends and Neighbors. He doesn't just get fired, he gets erased. His job gave him his identity. The hedge fund titan, the guy who moves money that moves the world, gone. His house, the physical monument to everything he'd built, no longer his. His marriage, gone. His Maserati, technically still his, but the trunk doesn't latch properly, which in the vocabulary of Baudrillard is practically a philosophical crisis. Coop doesn't lose his net worth. He loses his signal, his symbols, his proof that he exists in the way he thought he existed. And so what does he do? He goes looking for new symbols in other people's closets. He steals a watch, and for a moment, wearing it, he feels like the old Coop, the successful one, the one who belongs in these houses, at these parties, in this world. He's not stealing things. He's stealing identities, borrowing other people's symbols to reconstruct a self that the world told him he'd lost. Baudrillard would have watched this show and nodded very slowly and said something in French that sounded devastating, and probably was, because this is exactly the trap he was warning us about. When your entire sense of self is built on objects, on the watch, the car, the title, the postcode, then the moment those objects disappear, you don't just feel poor, you feel like you don't exist. And Coop's solution, as insane as it is completely logical within Baudrillard's framework. If objects make identity, then stealing objects is stealing identity. And if you can steal enough of the right objects, Maybe you can fake your way back into existing. It's the most expensive and legally problematic form of self-help ever devised, but philosophically, it tracks. But here's where it gets really interesting, because Baudrillard didn't just describe this trap, he warned us about something even darker inside it. He said that in a consumer society, we eventually lose the ability to tell the difference between what's real and what's a sign of something real. He called this the simulacrum, a copy of a reality that no longer exists. Coop's old life, the successful hedge fund manager, the devoted husband, the respected neighbor, was it ever really him? Or was it just a very convincing collection of objects that produced the appearance of those things? Was he ever truly successful, or did he just own the right symbols of success? Was he ever truly happy, or did he just own the right symbols of happiness? This is the question that your friends and neighbors keep circling without ever quite answering. And it's the same question Baudrillard spent his entire career asking about all of us. Because if Coop's old life was already a simulacrum, a performance of identity rather than an actual one, then losing it wasn't losing himself. It was just losing the props. And that is either the most liberating idea in the show or the most terrifying one. Jean Baudrillard died in 2007 at 77. He never saw your friends and neighbors, but I think he would have recognized Coop immediately, not as a criminal, as a symptom. A man doing in the most literal way possible exactly what all of us do metaphorically every single day, searching through the objects around us for evidence that we exist, that we matter, that we belong. The difference between Coop and the rest of us is that he skipped the part where you buy the stuff. He just goes straight to the neighbors' houses, which is honestly a very efficient system, even if the legal exposure is significant. Baudrillard asked us to look at our things, really look at them and ask, am I choosing these because I love them or because I need them to tell me who I am? It's a genuinely uncomfortable question, especially if your answer involves a watch that costs more than a car and a kitchen you've never actually cooked in. Your Friends and Neighbors is a crime show on the surface, but underneath it's a show about what happens when the objects we use to construct ourselves get taken away, and what we're willing to do to get them back, which is apparently quite a lot, with a surprisingly low conviction rate, at least so far. Thank you for being here. It genuinely means the world. See you in the next one.